Welcome to the GRIMALDI podcast. We have a very special guest with us today. We have author Dennis Brennan. He is an expert in political witch hunts and the author of The DC Swamp Strikes Back. Thank you so much for being here.
Well, thanks, Drew. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk with you.
Well, we were having a discussion before we came on here, and that's why I was like, I'm just going to go live because I thought we were having kind of an interesting conversation talking about the Brown University things, that the whole time these press and media people were just totally disorganized, and they're just out there, and it's like you could have not have given a press conference and we would have been just as knowledgeable about what was going on. Like, they didn't give us any information.
No, it was maybe the worst press conference I've ever seen, or a series of press conferences, because they did it more than once. It's as if the first time they did it, nobody said, "Boy, that was awful. Let's not do that again."
Right.
Because they came right back out and did it again. And at times, it's like, okay, you have a lot of people up there. You have the attorney general, the mayor, the police chief. I didn't really understand. They called him colonel, but he was the police chief.
Yeah, so that was weird. Yeah.
Right. I don't know what the colonel thing is, but they're standing there, and once it comes down to questions, they really can't answer. At one point, the police chief was answering in Spanish, and I'm like, I have no idea what you're saying now.
It was
not
like,
that you said,
yeah.
Right. I mean, if you understood anything he said in English, you're like, well, that's nothing. And
right.
Then he said, then he's answering somebody in Spanish, and I'm like, wait, most of the room and television are saying, what are you saying? Is
right.
that
then you have the sign language person that is confusing even more people.
Yes. Right. Well, I always wonder about these sign language people. They do it at concerts now too.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever.
Yeah.
And they'll show like the sign language guy making the guitar strumming, and you're like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And who? And I don't know if I'm deaf, I'm probably not going to a concert.
I agree.
And if
I'm
watching television or press conference, I'm probably turning on closed captioning. That's just me.
Right. No, I'm with you 100%. Yeah. I feel you 100% there. That's funny. But yeah, so we were just talking about this too with like the Brown thing, how they were doing such a horrible job telling, well, first, like, okay, they're not related, the MIT professor. And then it was like, they started being like, well, how are they saying that these two things aren't, like that they came out and they said that they weren't related. And then like they walked it back. Like, well, actually they are related. And it was just, It was such a back and forth. It was like, like this ping pong of like, what the hell is going on? And I feel like they just did an awful job in those press conferences.
They did. And I think some of that was the Rhode Island people saying at first, no, they're not related. And they didn't know, obviously. Right. And then Massachusetts was saying, wait, there's a lot of stuff here that's similar. Yeah. And when they start looking at it, it's like, wait a minute, it's the same guy.
Yeah.
And, which is, and, then you have beyond that at the beginning, they're telling us we have the guy. I hate that when they say they have the guy and then they don't have the guy.
Right.
It's
yeah. Right. They had to let him go. Like they did that with like Charlie Kirk too. Oh, we got the guy. And it's like, nope, actually it wasn't him. Yeah. It's like, how do you make that big?
And they brag.
Yeah. Oh, we got
they
him
brag
quick.
about it. Like,
yeah.
Right. We did it through all this technology. And I always think, boy, people are dumb. They bring their phones with them, and that's how they're tracking them on their phone.
Right. Like they haven't watched an ID channel, type of thing in a while.
Right. Right. If you're planning a murder, probably don't bring your phone with. What are you planning on doing? Calling or looking up things? How do I do this?
Getting directions to the nearest landfill.
Right. But then when they have the wrong guy, it's awful because especially you have this guy arrested and, or at least in, custody, perhaps not arrested, but everybody thinks it's him. Right. Well,
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I saw the police pick you up. Okay.
Yeah. And I saw a thing on like X too, where people were talking about how the Brown shooter was this like LBGT, like I was seeing stuff on X. I think Benny Johnson released it that like they were scrubbing their website because this guy was like a pro-Palestinian, and it's
Yeah.
like, you know, talk about, well, guess it wasn't him. You know, whoops.
Right. Yeah.
It was a tough one to double down
That's
on.
part of the problem. It's tough on social media, right? Everybody wants to be the first one to say they
Right.
said it.
Yeah,
It's
true.
it's now become like sports with trades or something. You want to be the first guy to say, "Hey, the Yankees have traded someone," and it's like, or they're talking about signing somebody, and you're like, okay, it doesn't matter if you're first. How about get it right?
Right.
And
That's the most
we
important.
now have this same competition. Yeah, we've got this competition now with social media where I have sources that say the guy said, some kind of, El Akbar or
Yeah,
I don't know what they
yeah.
were.
I'd
There
heard
was
that
something
too.
on there. It's like,
And
yeah,
they wouldn't
did
even
he?
say it that he said it. He
Right.
clearly said it.
Yeah.
But they like
And
wouldn't
that's the
say
problem
that.
with
And it's like, what are they doing? What are they
Right.
covering up here? You know, like what is it? Who cares? You know, like just give us the
Right.
facts. We
And
can
it's
figure it out ourselves.
right. And we won't take our pitchforks and head over and
Right.
beat our neighbor.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey,
Go loot shit.
you're an Irish guy. I heard he was Irish. I'm killing you too. What?
Yeah, right. Yeah. But then, you know, to make it, I was thinking of something. Anyways, but they had, so first then they get the wrong guy, you know, and then, you know, the media, they're talking about, you know, how they got the wrong guy and he's out there, but they're not releasing any of the information about what he yelled, about what he said. And I'm sitting there as I'm watching this, and it almost looked like the university was trying to cover it up. That was what I was going to bring up. Okay. So then on top of all of that, the guy that ends up actually breaking the case open was this guy who is homeless, living in Brown University's basement, who posted this on Reddit and had come forward before as a tip, and they just didn't pay any attention to it until they figured there was some legs to it, maybe. But I thought about this. How weird is it that like they had to be like, well, it's the homeless guy that's in the basement. It couldn't just be the guy that was in the basement. You know,
Right.
It's like they're trying to pre-qualify him for like the 50K. But like, I asked the question too, where's the security in that? Like, we're talking about how bad the security is at Brown University, and you have a homeless guy living in your basement.
Right. Is he really homeless, or are they allowing him to live there knowing he lives there?
Right.
And
Yeah.
well, the whole security thing, you wonder. Every place is so secure. You would think there's cameras everywhere, but they took cameras down up there.
Yeah.
And it's like,
why?
then they say, why a lot of things like the university explained, well, the doors were open because finals were going on. I'm like, but don't all the students have cards to enter? I mean,
right, correct.
Why would the doors have to be open? Well, right, and that's the time. If I'm a student, I don't want anybody else in the university. I want just students.
Yeah, and if you were from a university standpoint, that would be the time they're literally sitting ducks. You know?
Right. Absolutely. And they're concentrating on their finals or whatever they were taking, and it's like, I don't understand why it wouldn't be all locked down.
Yeah,
if you don't have security, fine, but at least have entry cards.
Yeah.
And come on.
I agree. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes
we can run Brown University. I think we should become the new security team.
Yeah. That place would never be the same. Yeah. So let me ask you this. So you are the expert in political witch hunts. Did you see that Fulton County just recently admitted that they had 300,000 illegal ballots without chain of custody? And they're saying, oops. And Donald Trump lost Georgia by 10,000 votes. They had the notorious conversation with Kemp at the time, Find me the votes,
Mhm.
10,000 illegal votes, and you got 300,000 of them. But what does the media play? Find me the votes. Oh, he's trying to cheat. No.
Yeah.
And then poor Rudy
Right.
Giuliani, I mean, he's getting just killed over there with all these, you know, I mean, by just the political, that's a political witch hunt, Rudy
Yeah.
Giuliani getting taken
Well,
down. But what are your
yeah, I
thoughts?
read about this. I actually read about this last night, and I was, you have these 300,000 or so ballots that they counted that weren't, basically initialed. You have to initial in all states. You have to verify that they're really real ballots, and when they come in, they're initialed by both parties, and then put into the pile to be counted. These weren't. So really, they were 300,000 invalid votes, and they were out of Fulton County. So the chances are, most of them, I don't remember the percentages on how Trump lost there, but it wasn't close in Fulton.
Not in Fulton,
And
no. No. But in
right,
this whole state of
so
Georgia, it was like 10,000 votes.
right,
That's
and so
ridiculous.
it would have made a difference if those votes weren't counted,
Oh, yeah.
which technically they shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
It is funny because they said everybody's a conspiracy nut when those types of things were brought up, like
Right.
by Giuliani and others. And you're like, but now it turns out to be true, and all they say is, "Yeah, we don't have a defense to that. That's
Right.
we admit that," or something to that effect. It's like, okay, maybe we should have been looking at this at the beginning. Is it important enough to make sure the real votes are counted or not?
Right.
And
Yeah. I
I,
agree. It should have been
at
done
least
right,
verify.
especially with
Right.
what was going on at the time. Like, just do the right thing. And I mean, and then we got 4 years of Biden. And I mean, talk about, there was just too many instances. I mean, there was another thing that I read about where there was like the Chinese were dumping like tens of thousands of fake IDs, US IDs for Chinese citizens that were here at the university so that they could go vote. Show up, be like, oh
Oh, I
yeah,
haven't seen that.
I'll just send you the link on that one. But yeah, it's crazy. So you got that going on. You got that going on. You got the Dominion voting thing that's like oddly flipping ballots and stuff like that. And, and the whole thing is, it's like, I mean, I got a nasty letter from the same, like a cease and desist order. I'm not going to talk about too much details, but from the same company, from
Oh,
the same law firm that sued Fox News for Dominion.
okay.
And it was also the same law firm that sued Mike Lindell for that. And I'm just sitting there
Yeah.
thinking, I'm literally like, I mean, I have a little podcast, I'm not that big. I don't like, but I just thought to myself at the time, I'm like, this guy's going after someone like me. Like, dude, just to shut me up. Like, what would, I mean, there's bigger players out there. What would they do to take somebody out? And like we saw that with President Trump, and all of that over the last, 4 years of the political persecutions, lawfare.
Yeah. Well, it's funny with the machines. Over the years, Democrats have complained about the machines.
Correct. Yeah. There's a video of like Amy Klobuchar or whatever.
Yeah, wanting to get rid of machines and go to paper ballots. Then when, of course, Trump is saying it, well, he's a conspiracy nut.
Right.
And, these and machines, I don't know if they're Dominion or whatever company, but, local elections, I know here in Illinois, I would be involved in elections and people would walk outside after the precinct, or I get a call at the office, depending on what job I was doing in the campaign. And they'd say, so-and-so says he voted for the candidate, but it recorded for someone else at the.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
yeah.
I'm like, well, he had to say something at the time. We can tell people going in, make sure the vote is that way, but you can't do much once they've recorded the vote.
Right.
And this gets into, when they say, well, Trump has lost every challenge. Yes, because you can't really challenge much after the votes are counted.
Right.
How do you separate them out?
Right.
And
even that, yeah,
because we don't know.
You could have a bunch of fraudulent ones in there. And that's why at the time they were talking, and once they get swept into the general population of ballots, that's it.
Right.
You can't tell who voted for who.
Right, which those 300,000 in Fulton County, if you had separated those out, then there could be a chance to verify them,
Right.
or you can't, and you have to rule them out.
Right.
They're invalid.
Right. And even then, that's a
So-
large amount to not have the proper. I mean, that's a significant amount. Like, if you're doing that many ballots wrong, there should be a criminal investigation into that. Not the other way around.
Well-
hey, we have 300,000 ballots that weren't counted. Why weren't they counted? Oh, because somebody fucked up the chain of custody or whatever, you know.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. You have a lot of instances like that, and the answer is always in every election, well, yeah, there's some fraud, but it doesn't make a difference. Well, yes, it does make a difference.
It does. 100%,
I mean,
yeah. All the little.
not
instances.
only right, the little instances really add up because
They
we're
do.
talking about what seven states, and of those 7 states, there's really probably 10 to 15 counties that you're talking about.
Right.
And when you break it down, it even goes down to precincts
Yeah.
where you could steal it in a few precincts. And they talked about that in Wisconsin too in 2020 with Milwaukee.
Yep.
And these people would say you can't steal an election. Yes,
Yes,
you can.
If you hijacked the right places, just several key precincts in some of those key swing states, and I think you could absolutely swing a state one way or the other. Kind of like Wayne County, Trump was like way ahead in Michigan, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, here comes Wayne County, and all of a sudden it was like, oh, there goes his lead. But it's weird.
Well, and you go back to 1960, the Democrats actually kind of weirdly brag about Chicago stealing the election for Kennedy. And
they do, yeah.
They brag about it.
They do.
It's like folklore, like, yeah, look at what we did.
Yeah. Which is crazy too, because that was always like the one of the that was always one of the more valid conspiracies against Kennedy that I always thought was like, you had like some of the mafia people that helped him get elected with the mafia labor unions, and then Bobby Kennedy, his brother, gets an attorney general and essentially goes after them. And I always thought that was one had legs. I thought, but all the people around it were like, we had nothing to do with it. I mean, that would be a ballsy thing to go after a president, but obviously,
yeah. Well, if you see, you see some movies. I don't know how far we can trust a movie, but The Irishman, which years ago, they tell that story basically that's what happened, and one of the mobsters was so mad, but they were all kind of mad that they were being targeted, which is kind of funny because you're a criminal.
Right. Yeah.
What did you expect?
What did you expect? Yeah. Yeah. It's almost like they expect. Yeah. They just weren't used to that. They were used to having the inside feels.
Right. I want a free pass. I helped you get it.
Right. Yeah.
Nobody clued Bobby in, I guess.
Yeah. You are freezing up a little bit there, my friend. Hang on here.
Oh.
There you go. I think we got you back.
Okay.
Maybe?
Good.
There we go. Yeah. I think so. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Different.
Oh, hang on here. Let me see what's going on. I think we're back. All right.
Okay, good.
Hopefully we're good. All right. So, yeah. All right. Perfect. Yeah. I was like, no. Sometimes here in Michigan, we get a little snow and everything goes to hell. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, good Lord. So, yeah. So let me ask you this. So we're talking about political witch hunts. Why do you think the Democrats hate Donald Trump so much?
That's a good question. I think it started out, just the Clinton people and the establishment there for a while. As I think it was Barbara Bush first said that the people are sick of the Bushes and Clintons. Mm-hmm. You had Jeb Bush running, you had Clinton, and I think she was onto that earlier than anybody else. The people wanted something different. They don't want this. Ironically, it was almost like a monarchy of a couple families.
It was
that they were going to control.
You would have
had
Bushes and Clintons that were like 16 years of two families, if
Yeah,
not more. I mean, actually, it'd be more
right.
than that because you have the first George Bush.
Right. You had, yeah. I mean, it's probably 20 something years, really, when you
Yeah,
think of H.W. had 4, and then you had Clinton for 8 years and George W. for 8 years.
yeah,
So,
and
and
then
then if you would have gotten Hillary or Jeb,
right,
maybe another 8.
yeah,
And then maybe, if Jeb loses, he runs the next time. Who knows?
yeah,
It's kind of strange, and we kind of forget that was going on. And Trump was such a change agent, right? He was coming out of, you know, the celebrity side, but I mean, he was well known, but he wasn't known as a politician or as,
right,
someone who he never was really involved except giving money.
right, right.
I think
And it was mostly
it,
Democrats at the time.
it was mostly Democrats. I guess it's kind of like you hate your ex-wife more than the neighbor that does something to you or whatever.
Right. Well, because that probably
It's
cuts you a lot deeper than whatever the neighbor cut you with, right?
right. Well, maybe they felt that Trump was theirs, but Trump was smart. He looked at it like, wait a minute, they've paved the way for Hillary to win.
Yeah.
There's no way you can get in there and win. But there's 15 guys standing over on the Republican side. Hey, I'm better known than any of them. I can win this thing. And ultimately they were right. So, it's kind of funny because some of the positions Trump, certainly what he had before he ran, I'd say he was more Democrat than Republican.
Yeah.
And
100%. Yeah.
and even now, some of the stuff he's talking about with workers and manufacturing, those used to be Democrat positions.
Yeah.
Now
100%.
I don't know what happened to.
Well, and I was talking about it too, the different change in policy, but like you talk about Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney was talking about doing away with unions altogether. And then you have
Right.
Trump come in and, after the Republicans lost and lost and lost and lost, and then finally, you have somebody that comes in that says, here's my conservative values, but like love the unions. And as a guy who did like construction stuff like that, I'm sure he dealt with a lot of them.
Right. And I think he learned to work with the unions as they have to be there. Okay, well, I have to figure out how to work with them.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Trump actually is more pro worker than, the Democrats of today.
I agree.
And I think, and it might be that he's just pushed them to these positions because they're so against him. It's like, well, if Trump's for it, it must be bad. So I'm going to be against that. It's like,
he constantly
that's
traps
a position
him.
you held.
He constantly traps him in these like horrible arguments, and he's like, it's like, for example, like the men and women's sports. Why would you ever, I mean, 10, 20 years ago, that's a bipartisan thing. I mean, what is the point of having, men and women's sports and still having women's sports? Just call it co-ed. I mean,
right. And eventually you'll just call it secondary men, backup men.
Because it's going to be dominated by the trannies,
Right. So you're going to have, and it is funny that they stake out positions like that.
Yeah.
For that small percentage of people that are on that issue.
Right.
Yet most of the party goes along with it.
Yeah.
I mean, the Democrat voters are like, yeah, that's okay. Most of them. I mean, I think Trump did recapture some of the people, younger people especially, are looking at it. And maybe they see it because they're more involved in the college sports. And
well, I don't think the war on men in general helped the Democrat Party too much. Just their war against toxic masculinity.
Right. Right. It's which is really just a war on men.
100%.
You could call it toxic. Yeah.
100%.
Toxic masculinity. What is that? I don't like you being a guy.
Right. Yeah.
Well, how do you want me to act?
Right. Against my natural impulses.
Right. Right. We'd like you to femin up a little bit, would you? Well,
it makes no sense. It makes no sense.
No. I mean, you have to look at it and wonder, like, why would you do that? Because we are roughly half the voters. I don't know that you want to attack half the voters and say you are the problem.
Right.
And then they kind of zeroed in on white men.
Yeah.
So that's, but that seemed to also upset black men because they came, in
Yeah.
bigger numbers to Trump also.
Yeah.
I,
Well,
I think they saw it as
I think
it's an attack on all
right, 100%. That the struggle's real for us all. That that we're all getting attacked, not just And I think a lot
Yeah.
of things too is that you had the Biden regime that just exacerbated all these social issues till they were just like, oh, shut up. Where I think, I remember I was watching a football game with my buddies and I saw that Trump ad during the election where it was like, Kamala's for they, them, Trump is for you. I laughed so hard. It was so funny. And I thought, my God, that is absolutely hilarious. And they're saying that after that ad, that he actually, like, that's when he started soaring in the polls, that ad did a lot for him. And it was like, yes, because you're playing to a very small, loud, but a very small group of people.
right. And who's watching the football game?
Right.
Mostly guys.
Correct. Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, that's, and honestly, that was a great ad. I think it goes up there if someone was to look at, ads of presidential campaigns.
Oh, it's hilarious.
Willie Horton with H.W. Bush, that was a good one. But, there's an ad, not every time, but, many times during the course of these elections. And that might be the one for Trump where people are like, holy cow. And those of us that already knew that maybe weren't moved, but there were a lot of people who maybe are sitting on college campuses, younger guys who were sitting there going, yeah, that kind of encapsulates what I'm kind of feeling about this. And I'm now going to vote for this dude instead of, the other one that I usually vote for.
Right.
Or I don't vote usually.
Yeah.
Right.
You're not somebody who typically votes, but something happened where you got red pilled and you're like, oh, I'm going this time.
Right. Right. I mean, a lot of it, Charlie Kirk, a lot of people credit him. And I think he gets some of that credit.
Oh, I was so heartbroken. Like, that was one of the most devastating things ever. Like, my dad is a Kennedy fan. He's got pictures of Kennedy in the basement from his original campaign. He's, and I told him, I was like, after that thing, I said, I will never crack another JFK joke to you again. Because, it was it was traumatizing. I just felt horrible for, like, the family. And, and then to see it that graphically with all these people with their cameras, it's like, I hope the kids never have to see that shit, man.
Unfortunately, that's the thing I thought of. It's like, it's funny. Kennedy is the example. Like if you live long enough, you've seen the Kennedy assassination, the JFK assassination, thousands of times.
Films that just blew it open, yeah.
Right, and they show you in school, like you learn, you see this, like they'll show it, like, oh, they're doing this, and now Charlie Kirk's kids also young, just like JFK's kids were.
Yeah,
and I always think I've seen it thousands of times, but if you're Caroline Kennedy or if you were John Jr., you probably saw that even more, but it means a lot more to you. Like, you don't really know your dad at that age. And here I think Charlie Kirk's kids have the same, future ahead where they really didn't know him. They're, because they're still so young. And that's going to be the memory. Oh, dad was shot in the neck. And it's like,
very sad.
It is, because now everything's captured and,
And
it's
Charlie was just such a good guy. I think I didn't know him personally, obviously, but like I felt like I knew him because you watched a lot of the videos with him. And I don't think he was ever a different person privately than he was. I think all of his stances and stuff like that were his own. I don't think he was ever filtering himself from saying what he actually felt.
I don't think so. I think he was, speaking, the same thing everywhere. He was dedicated to this cause that he had. And it's unfortunate that even just being out there speaking, like, not to say that, you're a politician and you get killed, that it is different though. That's a risk.
Right.
Like even when Trump was shot, if I run for office or I hold office, I have a chance. But when you have, Charlie Kirk, what is he? He's a podcaster,
a Christian,
he runs,
preacher almost.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of
Right.
people.
I mean,
It
how do
was
you
like a
get?
faith thing. I can't tell you how many people he probably turned back to
Yeah.
the faith. You know.
I think he did have a big influence on that, and you see the numbers with younger people, who are back in some church, or
Mhm.
at least believing, if nothing else, where that was kind of getting away. And
Yep.
yeah, because he backed everything up with,
Faith.
religious citations for the
Yep.
Bible and what he.
100%. The man could quote like he'd be like blah 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 3 6. He'd be able to rattle
Yeah.
off the verses, and I'm like, I read my Bible, but I wouldn't be able to do that. I'm still not able to do that.
No, I'm not. No, I went to a Catholic high school and a Catholic university, and when people would say something about the Bible, I'm like, well, I'm Catholic. I really don't. I can't quote any of that.
Right.
I can tell you some of the stories, but we don't spend a lot of time doing that. Unless you're the priest. So
Right. Yeah. Well, Zoom is yelling at us, so I want you to
okay,
be able to get to pitch your book. Show us,
okay,
and I will put up links for this too. So tell us about your book.
okay. The book is DC Swamp Strikes Back. I've got a copy right here. Aaron Burr, Donald Trump, and their similar battles. It's a comparison of the time that Burr lived. He was a vice president. He was charged with treason. There's a lot of similarities between the lawfare that he suffered under and that we know Donald Trump suffered under prior to this most recent election, and hopefully not anymore after when he's out. But
Right. You never know.
both men, a lot of it comes from Trump saying no one else was treated like that, and he's right. No president was, but there is a vice president named Aaron Burr, and there's similarities all through the book about their lawfare. There's a couple chapters on the media and how the media was then and now and how they treated both men. And I think it's all referenced. It's not my opinion, maybe a little bit of my opinion in there, but it's referenced so people can actually say, here, this is where the facts come from. And if you're a Trump supporter, you should like that. If you're not, you should actually educate yourself because it is referenced and you can say, I didn't know that. Maybe you feel bad about being a Trump hater for no reason.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. I will put up your links on all my social sites so people can go buy it and check it out. And
Right.
we'll have to have you on again sometime because we've been great
Right.
and I enjoy talking with you. So I appreciate you coming
Okay.
on.
Well, thanks, Drew. I appreciate you having me on, and this was fun.
Yeah, it was a blast. Thanks again for coming on.
Okay. Thank
Take
you.
care. Hey. So he was a solid guest. I had a lot of fun with him. And we're definitely going to have him on again because, I mean, it was just fun to talk to. And I actually had more questions, but I still don't pay for Zoom. And it yells at me after like 45 minutes. And it's like, no. So that's when it's like I see the 10-minute thing go off. And I'm like, all right, we got to get to his book. I have so many more questions. But we will put up all of his social links on all of our social media sites. So you can go check out the book. We're going to get into some videos now. So here we are. Still a lot of crazy things going on in the world. And we were just talking about how good of a guy Charlie Kirk was. And it's crazy because there's just so many crazies in the world out there right now. This lady assaulted another woman for wearing a Charlie Kirk shirt. Check this out.
Why are you taking my picture?
Why are you wearing that shirt? You're working. It's not
It's
a
a
Target
red
shirt.
shirt. I can wear any red shirt.
It's not a plain shirt.
It doesn't have to be
It's a Charlie Kirk shirt.
Yes. Oh, yes, I know.
Are you fucking stupid?
No.
Why the fuck would you wear that? You're at work at Target. That's not a Target shirt. It's not a plain red shirt.
We
You
don't,
support a racist.
it's not racist.
You support a racist.
He's not a racist.
Yes, he is.
No, he's not.
Yes, he fucking
I'm
is.
sorry, but I'm not going to stand here and argue with you.
You're not. You should go
over
get
it.
your manager. You should not be allowed to wear that at work. Unacceptable. Unfucking acceptable.
That's your opinion.
No, the
ma'am.
opinion is he's a fucking racist and you support him.
That's your opinion, ma'am. Have
And
a
you
nice
shouldn't,
day.
you should not be allowed to wear that. This is
Have a
going
nice-
to be taken above your fucking head. That's insane.
Have a
Insane.
nice day.
Insane.
I love that woman.
Piece of shit.
I would give her the biggest hug.
Why? Why are you taking my picture?
I would just give her the biggest hug because she just looks like the sweetest little lady. And some pissed off white liberal woman goes up and goes, blah, 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 blah. Go find me one instance where Charlie Kirk ever said anything racist. He pointed to facts, uncomfortable facts a lot of times, but he always backed it up with data. And even when he talked about the fatherless problem within the African American community, he cited that as one of the problems for a lot of these people of not having a male figure in their lives to teach them and to grow them as an individual like fathers do. But I just think it's crazy that that people act like this and they act like it's okay. It's disgusting. So this here is Governor Gavin Newsom of California talking about Speaker Mike Johnson. And it's crazy because these people are nuts. Check this one out. They speak no truth. It's like they're
Sold
just
out, not just sold out his party, but he sold out this country. Speaker Johnson, what a joke, what an embarrassment, honestly.
What do you mean
This
by
guy
that?
is just, he's irrelevant. There's this notion of co-equal branches of government, this fundamental notion of a system of checks and balances. He's completely checked out. I mean, he's completely complicit at this moment. In so many ways, as bad as Trump is, guys like Speaker Johnson are worse. Seriously.
Why do
Because
you
he should
mean
know
that?
better, he doesn't do better. And he seems to sit there preaching, but he doesn't practice what he preaches. I remember when these guys were, attacking food stamps and cutting it. I thought, this is a guy who goes on and on and on and reminds us of his faith. And I thought maybe he should read Old Testament or the New Testament. One of the central tenets of our religion as a Catholic, a practicing Catholic, is this
Me
notion
as
of
well.
hunger, right?
Yeah.
Food and hunger.
Yeah, right.
It's not a suggestion, it's a central theme in terms of aligning with our God. And these guys have aligned with nothing. They've aligned with the agenda of cruelty and chaos. Forgive me, I don't want to go on and on. That's not mean, that's just true.
he is such a greasy jackass. There's nothing true about that. Mike Johnson is a man of faith. You couldn't ask for a better speaker at this time in history. I mean, after having somebody like Paul Ryan, I mean, somebody like that, come on. Going from speaker like Nancy Pelosi, come on. These people are nuts. They choose awful people, and Gavin's probably the front runner. Check this one out. Let me give some some context into this video, okay? So the UK opened up its borders, and what has happened as a result is that they have been flooded with people that are not their nationality and just hate their culture and want to change everything about their culture. This right here is in London. This is in the UK. It doesn't even look like the UK anymore. Like, part of immigration is people coming to your country, learning your values, learning your morals, and fitting the fuck in. It's called a simulation. These people want to make Western civilization in their Islamic image. So they're invading it. If you're going to let them come here, they will come here and they're going to take it over. That's what they do. They're invaders. But while you have people that have just taken like no stance or awful stances, and this one breaks my heart. And this is a little graphic. You've probably seen it on there already, but there was a shooting in Australia on the first night of Hanukkah. And it is sad, but check. These guys do this for 10 minutes. Taking out children. This is what Islam is right here. I'm not going to play too much more of that because it's just disgusting. But 15 were killed. One was a 10-year-old. And among the heroes, you can't let it all get negative here. Because there was an Australian Muslim man who stood up and became a national hero. This one right here, I guess that video is no longer available, which is weird, huh? Let me, so the UK man, it was an Australian man who was shot, but he actually ripped the gun from the father who was shooting. And as he did this, here it is. Check this one out. This is crazy.
Oh! Oh mon gros!
Now, right there, if he was in America, I would have said pull the trigger. But he didn't. Because he's a much bigger man and better man than I am. I mean, I would have pulled the trigger. You know, he's got another. Look at him. He tackles this guy as he's unarmed. And he was a Muslim man. So we got to remember that we can't always do that. We can't always lump everybody in together. But as a general rule, Islam is not one of peace. People can use any type of religion to really make anything dangerous, I guess you could say. But the Australian hero ended up taking 2 shots, and he is right. Let's see what we got here. Check this one out. So it's giving me some problems here, but he is he's back out, and he's okay. He was actually awarded.
How are you?
It's a pleasure to meet you.
Good. Isaac.
Ahmed.
How are you?
It's a pleasure to meet you.
Good. Isaac.
Ahmed.
How are
They gave him like $2 million for being a hero like that. And you know what? Like, hopefully people will see that and they'll be like, you know, I'm not going to do these crazy things in the name of Islam because people, it's dangerous. But the fact of the matter is this, okay, is that you have these European leaders that have become complacent. They have become complacent. there will never be a place in the world where you have Muslims in power and you will have people being hurt. Always. People will not be free. And that's a fact. But this is what Australia's prime minister said shortly before all this shooting came up, and before the shooting. And it was talking about Islamophobia. People like this should not be in power.
Australians
they need to be removed from power because they're complacent and they just don't seem to have what it takes. But that's up to Australia. But this is what he said. Check this out.
should be able to feel safe and at home in any community. The targeting of Australians based on their religious beliefs is not only an attack on them, but it's an attack on our core values. We must stamp out the hate, fear and prejudice that drives Islamophobia and division in our society. His consultations have been wide and he has made a range of recommendations. We'll carefully consider these and continue to work closely with AFTAB.
Today marks a critical and long-awaited moment for the Muslim communities of Australia. This is a historic opportunity. It is a moment where we decide who we are as a country and whether we are prepared to take the necessary steps to ensure that every person in Australia, regardless of faith, ethnicity or background, is safe, valued and treated with dignity. The reality is that Islamophobia in Australia has been persistent, at times ignored and other times denied, but never fully addressed. We have seen opposition to mosques and Islamic schools turn to violent vandalism and assaults on Muslim properties. We have seen public abuse, graffiti and assaults of Muslims. We have seen Muslim women and children targeted, not for what they have done, but for who they are and what they wear. Since October 7th, 2023, Islamophobic incidences have skyrocketed. The Islamophobia Register has recorded a 150% increase in verified in-person Islamophobic incidents by November 2024. Online, these instances skyrocketed to 250% compared to any other period before that. Despite these reports, Islamophobia remains underreported with far more intensity than what these troubling numbers tell us.
Thank you very much, everyone.
That's how it ended. That's how it ended. That's what happens when you play softball with Muslims. Oh, look, they gave us an inch. No, you need to deport every single one of them. Get the fuck out of this country. It's no longer allowed. You ever asked the question why there was Islamophobia in the first place? Maybe you look at those causes. I don't know. People are just stupid. And a lot of that stupid thought process is coming from the Europeans who don't truly understand freedom. They'll give up freedom no matter what. We saw it in World War II. Those be here. Here's my freedoms. Take it. So the point is this. This tension's been building in Australia for a really, really long time. Look at this. This was 6 months ago. Channing. This is Australia 6 months ago. Months ago. 6 months ago. So it's disgusting. It's disgusting that nobody is standing up for these people. So the jihadists now that have overrun the UK were cheering and celebrating the Australian Jewish massacre on the first night of Hanukkah. These people are morally bankrupt, sick, all the above. They're celebrating the massacre. Yeah, they were celebrating the massacre of 15, one of them being a 10-year-old girl. These people are just stupid. And until Europe wakes the fuck up and starts electing people that are going to fucking keep them safe, like, these people need to go home. And they need to take back their land, not invade ours. So, as I talk about an invasion, okay, the Somali community came to Minnesota and overran them, completely overran them. And there's like 85,000. Well, it turns out that a lot of these people have been defrauding the U.S. government in the tune of like $9 billion. And it turns out that Governor Tim Walz knew about it. Now, this is Rep. Ilhan Omar, their representative, who's a known like jihadist, Somali, all this crazy bullshit, everything that's not American. And this woman here says that she has been investigating the fraud. I mean, it's so dishonest. Like, quick get, like, who keeps voting for this? I'll tell you who. The Muslims. Check this out.
Actually, I was one of the first members of Congress to send a letter to the Secretary of Ag asking them to look into what I thought was a reprehensible fraud that was occurring within the program.
Why do you think this fraud was allowed to get so widespread?
Well, I want to say, this also has an impact on Somalis because we are also taxpayers in Minnesota. We also could have benefited from the program and the money that was stolen. And so it's been really frustrating for people to not acknowledge the fact that we're also as Minnesotans, as taxpayers, really upset and angry about the fraud that has occurred.
Okay, so she's one of the Congress people who she recently so she was one of the people that they just reported recently that, like, she skyrocketed. Her net worth, like, went through the roof. Yeah, so check this out. This is actually an article for Rep. Ilhan Omar. Let me see if it'll load here. But look at this. Rep. Ilhan Omar's net worth. Of course, it covers it up. Get this shit out of here. But they talk about it. Her net worth has went up from $1 million to $5 million in her latest disclosure. It's just like she's stealing money, and she's part of it, and everybody knows this, and she's just like gaslighting people. Well, I was one of the first people to go in there and tell them to look at it. No, honey. She married her fucking brother to defraud the U.S. immigration system so that they could come here. These people are disgusting. So, I want to get into more positive things for you here. This one here is a message from Bishop Marmar Emanuel. He's always has some great messages for us, and we absolutely love him here. If we can get it pulled up, maybe. I don't know. Actually, this might not work. Screw it. We'll come back if we can find it. But Bishop Marmar Emanuel He always has some really great things to say. But he was one of the guys who speaks out against Islam, and he was stabbed during a live stream a while back. But let's see if we can get this one going here. This one here is Napoleon Hill on living as if God is in you, which he is. Hopefully this one actually works this time. Here we go. This is a great video. I want people to see. Check it out.
Within you, your voice changes, your posture changes. You stop asking for permission to live with fire. And when you stop waiting, heaven stops waiting too. This is not a lesson. This is a summons. If you are hearing this now, it is because something in you is ready to rise. You have waited long enough. The silence you feel, the restlessness inside you, it is not confusion, it is a call, a divine order echoing from within, commanding you to stop living like you were forgotten. You were not made to shrink. You were not placed here to drift. You were sent, and the one who sent you does not apologize for power. The man who listens with reverence, who studies this again and again until it becomes his new law, he will not just change. He will become the living proof of purpose, sent with clarity, walking with power, and finishing what heaven began. Now listen, because the moment you believe this truth, you will no longer walk as a man. You will walk as one who was sent. You have walked long enough pretending to be less than what you were sent to become. You have bowed long enough to fear. You have hesitated long enough in the shadow of doubt. But now the voice of purpose calls to you. And if you will obey what is about to be spoken, not just hear it, but obey it, you will never again be the man you were before this hour. Because what I'm about to give you is not motivation. It is law, not advice, instruction. It is the truth of who you are beneath the story, beneath the excuses, beneath the hesitation that the world has taught you to wear. And here is that truth. You were not made small. You were not sent here to drift. You were not placed on this earth to survive. You were sent with power. You were sent with command. You were sent with God himself written into your spirit. And yet most men live like intruders in their own life. They apologize for wanting more. They hide their fire. They speak with hesitation, act with delay, and wait to be approved before they move. Not because they lack ability, but because they have forgotten who sent them. And the world prefers it that way. Because the man who walks as if God is within him, that man cannot be controlled. That is why this truth is not handed out in schools. It is not printed in the headlines. It is not celebrated in public. Because when a man begins to think as if heaven lives inside him, he becomes ungovernable by weakness. He no longer listens to the noise. He no longer waits for support. He no longer serves fear. He begins to walk differently, speak differently, build differently. And the moment that man appears, systems that rely on confusion act as if God is within you.
I thought that was awesome, so I had to share. But I have one more video for you. We are going to give it up for Mike Lindell, who is now running for Minnesota governor. He has thrown his hat in the ring. Check this out.
Hello, everyone. This is Mike Lindell. As you probably already heard, I'm running for Minnesota governor. I'm in it to win it. We just came to our first event now today. It's the Minnesota GOP State Central Committee meeting. We just arrived. It's going to be a very exciting day. If you guys want to learn a lot about what's going on with my campaign, it's MikeLindellGov.com. Thank you and God bless. Hello, everyone. This is
the man, the myth, the legend, Mike Lindell. He would be great for Minnesota, and he would clean that shit up so well. So, always remember, too, if you can use promo code GRIM, G-R-I-M, at MyPillow.com for all sorts of goodies and special discounts and offers that you can only get using promo code GRIM. And coming into the holiday season, there's a lot of good stuff on there. You can get moccasin shoes that are originally $120 for like $39. towels, all sorts of good stuff. So, and the My Pillow is normally like $50. You can get them for like 14. Use promo code GRIM on mypillow.com. But I want to say thank you so much for coming out here today, listening. Saturdays are always fun, and there's always a lot going on Saturdays with sports, and it being one of the days that we have off during the week. Some people don't even have it off. So just want to say thank you for listening, and keep living as if God is in you, because one who lives as if heaven is inside them is ungovernable. And I think that's a beautiful message. So thank you so much for watching. We'll be back next Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you so much for watching. God bless the USA. God bless you guys. And have everybody have a great week. We'll see you next week, 11 a.m. Saturday.